Is this thing on?
Oh my god.
I sound like that Miley Cyrus clip.
No, that sounded demonic.
Exactly, like Miley Cyrus. She's a demon. Live at 4. Well.
So, actually, I kind of want to start with a warning. So,
To who?
to our faithful listener...
What are you going to say that's going to scare Colin, huh?
No.
He's heard us sit here and say, pussy, pussy, pussy. Like, what could be worse than that?
No. This is not a scary thing. I want to start this with what happened to my bank account recently.
Oh, yes.
Because this
Robbery
could happen.
and fraud.
This could happen to you. It might happen to you. It might have already happened to you and you don't even know it.
If it happens to you.
So, yeah, it was Tuesday. Well, I'm dating this. I don't know why I'm dating this. Anyway, one day this week, I went to the gym by myself, by the way. And the reason I was by myself will be disseminated later in the episode.
Fucking award? But
Wyatt had very important things to take care of, and we will explain that later.
yes. Get my period.
So I went to the gym by myself, had a very nice workout, actually, and said, you know what, I'm going to treat myself to a little bit of lunch. And so I came back and had a Chipotle burrito bowl for lunch. And I was like, oh, you know, I was expecting a certain deposit to hit my account. So I looked and I'm like, wait, there's 2 purchases from this morning. One at Chipotle and then this other one for $5.45 from somewhere called fworkemail.com. And I'm going, I know I didn't buy anything else this morning, and I certainly wouldn't have bought something from that.
I certainly wouldn't have bought anything myself.
So I was very confused. And I was like, could this, I mean, it's a very small amount to be fraud or, you know, stealing or something like that. So I did a transaction history search for the same website, fworkemail.com. 4 popped up. Over the last 6 months, they stole 95 cents, $2.45, $3.95, $5.95. So, like, grand total, like $13 and change. Not much, really.
Are you kidding? That's one Chipotle burrito bowl.
No, you're right. It is. However, in the grand scheme of things, they could have stolen a lot more.
Well, not enough to be noticeable.
Exactly. So it was not noticed by my, by the way, very good credit union fraud protection, because
Right.
I have gotten alerts before from them like, this seems weird, and I had to be like, yes, no, I did
Exclusive Pornhub. No, I'm an X kind of bitch. But yeah.
that. So it went under their radar, and so I called them, and they were like, yeah, it looks like fraud, and blah, blah, blah. And so I had to cancel my debit card. And
Is that what they sound like? Yeah, it looks like fraud. Like if I called a bank and that's what they sounded like, I'd be like, that's the next First Republic. I gotta get the hell out.
This was clearly a Zoomer talking to me.
You got no cap, bro. They got fraud on fire.
So, yeah. This is a word of warning to any of you listening that apparently fraudsters, is that a word now?
Yeah.
Are starting to steal a little bit from a lot of people, which obviously adds up.
Yeah.
So if you've noticed, well, or go back through your history and look for those small little deductions, and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't do that.
But it's enough to be like, oh, Apple
miss
expense or like $9.99 or something. It's like, oh, maybe I did. Maybe that was lunch that I bought or something I signed up for and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Well, the reason
It's plausible enough.
Right, and I wouldn't have noticed it, honestly, if it hadn't been the same day, first of all. And secondly, with a company name like F Work Email, what work email am I effing? What's going on here?
But I think that people think that, oh, it says work in there, therefore it was something I did for work. This is a scam for the elderly, by the way. This is not to scam you. They thought, based on your purchase history, Chardonnay, Geritol, Sephora. They figured you were a 75-year-old woman, which is correct.
Mentally, not physically.
Still vibrant. But they figured that you were, like, too old to notice.
Right. Well, I did notice this last time, and so I'm just, word of warning for any of you. Go back and check through your email. through your transaction history, and you might see some weird transactions and get your.
And
get
as
your
a
money
result,
back.
you're waiting on a new debit card that's going to take like 4 to 6 business weeks to
Yeah,
arrive.
that's the only downside. But
Well, a lot of places take Apple. Well, you don't have a lot of places take Venmo and stuff now. So here's the thing. I used to be super militant about that stuff because I started to learn how utilities like Spectrum and AT&T and things like that, which I no longer have either of, how they would just all of a sudden either up the rate or extra $4.99 charge or things like that, and your
For
monthly
bullshit
bill would
stuff.
not be the $49.99 a month that you signed up for the for when you got your equipment and you got your service or whatever. Like it would come out of nowhere, and it used to be, this is up until maybe a couple of years, up until before 2020, you would call and be like, look, you and I both know this, and then okay, we'll take it off. Even overdraft fees, because that's another reason why I would mentally know exactly how much was in my account, and then one of those charges would come on and, overdraft, and then it's another $35. Fees affect more than half of Americans, and that's why I think, I'm going to tie this into a larger issue,
your bills has been affected.
your bills have been affected. Oh. Biden is doing something smart. Well, let's be honest. The people with their hand up Biden's ass, with the CPAP machine, are doing something smart. They're focusing on junk fees in the airline industry, in Airbnb, resort fees, and all the other hidden fees that make up a lot of the 99 cents and below skims that we get from major corporations throughout our daily lives.
And I can get behind that.
I think that is something that does affect most Americans, especially those who are middle class and lower middle class, who really have to keep an eye on their pocketbooks.
I use my pocketbook.
I used to spend like 1 hour of 1 month or 1 to 2 hours just going through and looking through my state. Do I recognize these charges? What is this? Why is this more? Why is this less? Because now that all these companies incentivize you to do auto pay, you can go 3-5 months and not even pay attention to what's actually in your account. So it's always good to go back in and look. Don't be scared to go in and realize you have a balance of 6 cents. We've all been there. But at least go back and look and pay attention to that stuff, because they nail you on a lot of stuff. So that's fraud. Now,
Yes.
To me, robbery.
Yeah.
It's a really sad story, because I will forever kick myself for thinking that this was a good idea. So, go to a friend's girlfriend's parents' house after going to the beach. We're eating.
It was a birthday party,
It was,
right?
it was a birthday party. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do the responsible thing, leave my car parked in the neighborhood. I'll come and get it tomorrow. Okay. So I thought, how am I going to know? This is an unfamiliar area. It's somewhere like Baldwin, Cerritos, Hawaiian Garden. One of those places that you're I don't know where the fuck I am, but it's someplace between LA to Orange County that it's not Long Beach, but it's vaguely Long Beach. There's a whole zone, by the way, that if a UFO crashed, no one would know. It's just wide open spaces. I think that there's
What'd you call me?
I
haven't used that one in a while.
That's true. It's just vast. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to know what the fuck this is, because I could barely find out how to get here. I'm not going to find out how to get back. So I thought, okay, this is my thinking. I'll call an Uber from my phone, but my phone also has the Apple Find My tracker, track at any time where the location is. I'll hide my phone in the car, and then I'll know where it is, so I'll know where to come back and get a ride to come and pick up my car the next day.
Stupid.
I should get one of those Apple tags, because I'm very militant about having one of those in my wallet. But here's another thing where it was 4 for $99. I'm like, oh, that's kind of steep. I'm not going to get those. And so my cheap ass thinking, instead of just putting one of those, I don't want my car, I don't want people to track where I drive. Thinking, I'm like, if I just leave my phone in the console, then I'll be fine. So I come back the next day. The car's gone. Gone. And the other thing I noticed, too, is that I didn't notice this until the next morning when I was looking in the bowl. I was like, oh, shit. I think the key must have fallen out of my pocket when I was rummaging around to find a safe place to put the phone. So I don't have the key. I have a backup key somewhere. and I don't have my phone now. And I go back, and now I don't have my car. So I'm like, okay, maybe I just misremembered where I parked it. So I'm walking up and down the streets, and it's like the Nene Leakes thing when you hear the dogs bark, and she says, "Ooh, child," with the Range Rover parked. That's literally it, except I couldn't find mine.
Ghetto.
Oh, what is this, honey? A white refrigerator? The funny thing is it was not a bad area where we were, but where I was looking was like significantly worse, and it was across the street. It was one-way streets that you could only park on one side. Every house had a dog barking in the front yard. There was a Tesla on blocks parked in front of a house. That's how bad it was. You had a Tesla on blocks. You had people sitting out in lounge. If you have... Here, this is also a very good metric. If you live in a neighborhood that does not have porches, but has people sitting on temporary furniture in the front yards looking at you during the middle of the day, that's a problem. I'm not saying having a barbecue at night. I'm saying at like 11 a.m. Just sitting there staring at you. That's another level. So car's gone. So I'm like, fuck. It's like, what am I supposed to do? So I call like the police non-emergency line. I'm like, well, I guess I call 911. I don't know. And they're like, oh, we're directing you to non-emergency. And so I call once I get home because I don't have a phone. So I have to wait till I get home to call. And I'm like, hey, my car was stolen. It was parked at, I had like at least a rough mental intersection of where it was. Like, it's here and it's not there. Oh, well, you have to come in and file a report. I'm like, I was just there. Like, I didn't even know what agency this was. I don't even know what city I'm in. I'm just calling because my car's gone. Like, if I went traveling for a week and I came back and the car was missing, I would be in the same boat. Like, oh, we have to come in. I'm like, okay. So, get a car. Come back the next day with no phone, by the way. I had to write down the directions on a Post-it note. And I go in, I'm like, hi, I'm here to file a report. They're like, oh, your car wasn't stolen. It was towed. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, it was in the middle of the street. It was towed. I'm like, when? They're like, Sunday evening. It's in Long Beach. And I'm like, Long Beach? I didn't go to Long Beach. I wasn't even within 5 miles of Long Beach.
And it shouldn't have been towed on a Sunday because you left it on a Saturday.
Exactly. And I'm like, why would you tow a car 24 hours later if it was parked in the middle of the street? So I'm like, all right, something's wrong. So I get back home. And the one thing she said, she's like, why didn't you just report it where you live? I'm like, I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I've never had a car. I've had things stolen in my car before. I've never had the actual physical vehicle gone. So this is new for me. As I'm sure it's not for you. Left. So I came back. I go to my local police station the following day. And I'm like, hi, I'm here to file a report. They're like, why didn't you file a report Saturday or Sunday? I'm like, look, I've tried. Well, where was it taken from? Not here? Oh. Well, we found it. It's in Long Beach. I'm like, what is this? Do I have to go to Long Beach to file? No, you have to go to a place where... Go back to the place that you were at before and file the report. I'm like, I tried to. They wouldn't let me. Well... we can't help you. I'm like, wow, this is great. So I went online, by the way, and I looked. A couple of these agencies say, we're not the police departments. We're a community-based policing solution. And I'm like, oh, God. So, great. We've defunded us to the point of just complete uselessness. I had to stop at a library to get directions. Like it was 1997. And I was driving a BMW from that era. So it was very much, I was very, like, late 90s core.
Sorry, hot dad just walked by the window.
There's no hot dads in this neighborhood.
I've never seen him before because he was a DILF. Anyway, go ahead.
DILFs aside, I'm closing the curtains behind me. DILFs aside. By the way, nobody in the law enforcement that I interacted with was attractive. I should make that very clear. There was a lot of people who, like...
Too many donuts.
God, it was rough. So... I've talked now to 4 police agencies. No one will take a report. And I finally am able to call the yard where the truck is at. And she's like, oh, yeah, you could tell, lesbian. You could just tell through the phone. What's your name? Cheryl. I'm like, oh, God, okay. And I'm like, is my car there? What's the license plate? And I'm like, okay, I'll go through everything. Yeah, the driver was arrested. I'm like, okay, so it was stolen. No, it was towed. I'm like, it's my car. How could the driver have been arrested if it's my car? Someone took my car and parked it somewhere, left it, abandoned it. And I'm like, all right. By the way, tracking my phone did not work because my phone only gave a location from 2 days before when we were last at Total Wine. And I had told the story about Roman being horrified by
You were at Total Wine.
By your Crown Royal.
I was not there.
Well, anyway. So tracking your phone does not work. So don't use that as a strategy for people. Like Apple tracking, as accurate as you think it is not. It's useless, especially if the device is now dead or out of battery or stolen or God knows what. So in between all of this, I'm like, okay, well, obviously my phone is gone because if the car was stolen, they're going to take the phone. I'm going to go get a new phone. I go to the Apple store and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. AT&T is asking us to log in. It's a second layer of security in your account. I'm like, okay, so I go to log in. Not accepted. Not accepted. Not accepted. Like, oh, yeah. Yeah, we need the phone so that we can unlock it. I'm like, well, clearly I don't have the phone. Yeah, we need the phone. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go. I'm not going to buy a phone today. Like, all right. I stop at the AT&T store. And I'm like, okay. I go, come home, order the phone, unlock, so I can bypass the AT&T nonsense. Go pick up the phone, back at the store, then go to the AT&T store, and they're like, oh yeah, we need the number to unlock it. I'm like, you're AT&T. If you can't unlock my phone, who can? Yeah, we can't do that. But here's a number that you can call. I said, what? I don't have a phone. What do you mean there's a number I can call? Oh, yeah, sorry, bro, we can't. I'm like, I come home, I, again, borrow a phone. I call AT&T. Oh, they shouldn't have told you that. Go back to the store. I'm like, I'm not going back. They're closed now. I went at like 6:30 at night. Yeah, they messed up. That just pisses me off that they would say something like that to you. And you heard the guy. I had him on speaker. He went on for like 20 minutes, like how upset he was at the store. Yeah. I just wanted my account back. And like, yeah, so we can't do that. I can add a new line, and then in 48 hours, I can cancel the new line, but I need a number that's attached to your account to unlock your phone. I'm like, just close my account. Oh, man, I mean, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to scare you. I'm like, look, there's something called T-Mobile. I will set up a new account, which actually worked. That night I came home. I set up T-Mobile on my phone. It was automatic. This is not a T-Mobile sponsored situation.
Say non-spawn.
But please sponsor me because, that was pretty nice. And I'm at least paying like $30 or $40 less a month for my same service. Hopefully better. So I go the next day to glorious Long Beach, California, which really, as much as people talk about Detroit and how it's a symptom of American decline.
Oh, God.
There's a place called Long Beach. I don't care how much fun you people have in downtown. I don't care how much you have fun at Hamburger Mary's or on the...
And we were invited to Long Beach Pride, and I'm just like, who goes to that?
That sounds horrible. I want to be very clear. I went to the aquarium. I went to the Queen Mary, Hamburger Mary, whatever the fuck it's called on the pier. I walked back, and there was a guy, like, waving a knife in the street a block away from the aquarium, and I'm like, this was 10 years ago. And I'm like, okay, this is not a place I want to be. But it really feels like a place that time forgot, because there are beautiful buildings, and it has a gorgeous, long beachfront, and it's absolute shit. It's what I think people describe like Atlantic City. It feels like that, but, like, even more abandoned. So I go to, Long Beach. I go to the tow yard. Again, lesbian at the window. Like, is there something about lesbians where they work in these kinds of roles?
They can't get jobs elsewhere. So
this one was lipstick.
They might as well work at a tow yard or a Home Depot.
This one was lipstick, and by that I mean she was actually wearing lipstick, but there was nothing else lipstick about her. But God bless. So you go to the tow yard, you get a little sign-out paper, and they put you in the back of a little Prius. The guy's like, I'm like, Range Rover, Lamborghini. I said, no, I wish I had one. But no, I hope you haven't had a Lamborghini in a tow yard. But, I'm here. I go in, and they drive you a little putt-putt Prius to the back, and I see the only thing that's wrong with the car is the bumper's off. And with the wiring still connected for, like, the lights and the sensors. Everything else is fine. My towel is still in there. My phone is still in there, and the key is still in there. My sunglasses are gone. And the thing that makes me most mad about that is I had the full set of those Kenzo sunglasses in every color, and now I have to track the blue and orange ones back down. But I had to make peace that my truck will never come back, that this wonderful vehicle that I got after an accident would be I'd have for the rest of my life. And I had to make peace that I was now parting with this beloved vehicle. So it was found, and I had it towed to my service guy who has seen now 2 Range Rovers in various states of bumper distress, who laughed when I called.
And it's probably thinking, what the fuck do you do to these Range Rovers?
No, literally, like the guy's British, and he just starts cackling when I call, when he sees my name come up. And he answers the phone just cackling. And I'm like, you know what? I paid for your mortgage this year, sir, and now I'm going to pay for yours next year. When last time I was there, after getting an oil change, and like one thing fixed, the other guy who works there was like, great, now I can take my wife out to dinner. I was so upset. Oh my God. Because it meant that I was not going to be able to go out to dinner that night. So, all's well that ends badly. I was able to use my old phone, so I took the new phone back. So the Apple Store saw me 3 times in a 24-hour window, and the same guy saw me every time and was like, he stayed further and further away from me to the point where I think that he thinks that I'm like a scammer or something, and he's scared to interact.
Well,
regardless, robbery and fraud. Irregardless, robbery and fraud, and yet we're still here and in one piece. It's just, here's the hard part for me. Like you with not having a card for a few days instead of just them being like, we'll overnight one to you and it'll come tomorrow. It's not something you did. This was not something I did. It's the fucking inconvenience of it.
Yeah.
It's hard because now you're like, great, I have to plan my next 3 days about not having, around not having a card. So if I have to go do something or something like that, I'll have to Venmo somebody to cover it. And with me, it was the same thing. Like, what do you do without a phone and without this? Like, I have to rely on other people now in a way that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it is an unnecessary inconvenience.
Absolutely, yes. But fraud, robbery, and I don't even know what to call mine, but
embezzle. But what money did you embezzle?
Catfishing, is that what we call it?
Can you catfish an account? Oh, was that your date?
Yes.
You were catfished?
Not necessarily.
It was a woman?
In certain ways.
It was a tranny.
No.
Oh my God, okay. Tell me about this, because all you told me was like you went and got dessert and you're not going on a second date. So I figured that something bad happened. But tell me the story of what happened. This was the guy who said you looked like really Rachel Maddow or something, right?
It was really, really, really weird.
Okay, what happened?
So I just want to put for the record, I understand.
What are we, in court?
No, I understand putting up pictures that make, that are most flattering to you. We all do it on your dating profiles.
Yeah. Mine is like across the street. That was how I looked in my old Tinder. Like it was like as far away as possible.
But when it comes to personality, if you are not the same person that I'm messaging / texting with as the person that I meet, I want to sue. Who am I talking to on the phone that I'm not talking to in real life? I want to sue. Like, what's going on? This is
Did you have an actual phone call with this person?
Yes.
Okay, so you vetted in every possible way.
I had messages through an app. I had texts, and I had a short phone conversation.
Someone in a fucking ram outside.
It was a short phone conversation, but it was a conversation, and it was a good back and forth, and it was fun. It was nice. He seemed smart. He seemed charming. All of this stuff.
Yeah.
His pictures were nice.
He said you look like Chris Hayes from MSNBC.
Yes, that was a red flag.
That would have made me... I would have killed somebody if they would have told me that.
So that was red flag number 1. But I was like, you know what? It's a date. I'm going to ignore that. Red flag number 2 came when he tells me that he doesn't drive and doesn't have a car.
Is he a New Yorker?
No. He grew up... He's born and raised in L.A.
You have no fucking excuse to do that. I'm sorry. That is a red flag of all... If you're a New Yorker, that's okay. Because I've known like a few that do not drive, refuse to drive, would not learn to drive. I would bully them into driving and they would not drive. That's fine. But if you're not a New Yorker, fuck you.
So that was red flag number 2. But again, I went, it's one date. I'll ignore it.
Did he steal my truck?
Red flag number 3 came the day of the date, which was it was a Saturday, the same day that you went to your party where you got your car stolen.
God.
I was working Saturday during the day, and I get a text message confirming plans and stuff. And so he says, hey, I get off work at 9, you know, we can meet and blah, blah, blah. And then he says, or, you know, we could go out to West Hollywood if you want.
Oh.
And I said, okay, well, I mean, that might be easier. We can just meet somewhere. And so I said, you know, I can make a reservation at this place, and then we could go, you know, have a drink afterward, you know, have dessert at this place, and then go have a drink afterward.
Yeah.
And then
Go to Pump. You have like 3 days left.
after an hour of no response, I get, well, that turns my $40 date into an $80 date. I don't know if I can do that.
I would have canceled. I would have canceled and just gone out. If someone said that, I would literally fucking cancel. Not saying that you're expecting a more expensive date, but you can at least finesse that before you've met the person in real life.
Well, so here's the thing. So that was kind of red flag number 3, but I thought to myself, I wasn't expecting someone else to pay. Like,
Right.
we all know, you know, those of us who are in the gay world and the gay dating world, there are no expectations, right? So you don't know who's going to pay. Like, in the straight world, it's kind of, I mean, maybe not anymore, but at one time it was kind of, you know, understood who was going to pay. But in the gay world, it's like, okay, I don't know what's going on. So I've had dates where I've had to pay, and I wasn't expecting to. I've had dates
nasty.
where we split it, which is fine.
I think
it's a first meeting.
I think at least for the first, you are allowed to split at least the first couple of meetings. Usually they're not in the same environment, so it's like one's a coffee shop, one's drinks, one's dinner, or something like that. That's, I think, reasonable and fair.
Right. So, again, to preface this, I've had many, you know, text conversations and one phone conversation. He's very personable, talkative, friendly, smart, funny, all of these things. And I was like, okay, these are all the green flags. I've had a few red flags. And so I'm like, okay, I explained, I thought we might go Dutch. I didn't know you were going to pay. I appreciate it, blah, blah, blah. Radio silence.
Ooh.
We're getting close to the time when I'm supposed to leave. And I'm like, hey, I'm about to head up. You know, what's the deal? And he says, oh, well, if you still want to meet, like, we can just do, you know, the thing I had planned. I'm like, that's fine. So I drive
Wait a
up.
second. Head up. Where are you driving to?
L.A.
Oh, before you left for LA. Okay.
Yes. I was still home here
Yeah.
in Orange
Okay.
County, and I was heading up to LA.
Okay.
So I go up, text him like, hey, you know, I'll meet you. Give me the address. I'll meet you outside of your work. I drive up to his workplace, and it is sketch to say the least. Like, you know where I'm talking about. It's a kind of a mall, but kind of a nasty mall on Sepulveda.
Where is it at JCPenney?
Yes, he works at a JCPenney.
Oh, God.
And so I drive up to something that says Westlake or something like that, dining hall. And clearly the whole mall closes.
It's the Westfield in Northridge?
Probably.
You went all the way up to fucking Northridge?
I don't know. I don't know where I went. Around Santa Monica, I don't know. On Sepulveda Boulevard.
Oh, no. Is it the Fox Hills Mall? The Westfield Fox Hills?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Yes, that was it. Yes,
That's
Westfield.
by the airport.
So I drive over there, and I'm sitting in the parking lot, which is full of, like, trash, by the way.
It's
Yeah. And I see the mall clearly closes at 9, which is about when I pulled up, and there is a mass of people exiting this mall.
Oh, God.
Like, at the same time. And just a bunch of Hispanic people just pouring out of the mall, and I'm just like, hi. Hi. And so they're all getting in their cars and driving off, and I'm just sitting there, like, alone in the parking lot, waiting for him to, like, walk up, and I'm like, I'm in a white car, like, yeah.
This is a great start.
And so he finally walks up, he gets in the car, he's like, oh, thank you so much for picking me up. He's, he looks okay. Again, not like his pictures. His pictures are much nicer, obviously, as we all do. And so he starts
Who's
talking.
we, though? Your pictures look like you. I've seen your pictures.
I've been told that they don't, so I don't know. So we're talking. He's clearly kind of nervous. And
Well, you're his ride. If he fucks up, you're gonna make him walk.
well, and I could be a murderer. Who knows? I could have been. Excuse me.
Is that why there's not a second date? You killed him.
Maybe. So he's. I say, okay, tell me how to get to the next place we're going, and he's like, oh, well, I don't know, and so he has to look it up, and I'm like, you know where we're going, but you don't know how to get there. Okay. And then I went, well, I guess you don't drive, you don't have a car. I guess you wouldn't know how to get there. So he's directing me how to get there and nervously talking and starts talking about Canadian politics and start asking me questions like I'm supposed to know. He's like, well, I thought you were into politics. I'm like, I don't know anything about the Canadian government other than fuck Justin Trudeau. Like, what do you want from me? And so he's like, well, okay. So we get to this place.
Was this Justin Trudeau in like a funny outfit? It might be. You were catfished by Justin Trudeau.
Maybe. We get to this ice cream parlor. And it was on Westwood.
Oh.
And it's called Saffron and Rose.
Which is good.
So
I went to school there. Saffron and
Yes.
Rose is a very, very good place. Threateningly Persian.
Yes.
Threateningly.
The ice cream was very good.
Did you have rosewater ice cream?
But I'm looking around at the places around this ice cream parlor, and I'm going, every sign is in Farsi or
Yes,
Arabic, in
because-
Arabic script. And I'm like, am I in another country? Like, I felt like I was not in
Tarantulas.
Yes. And so he said, welcome to Tarantulas. And I'm like, okay.
I told you, though. I said I'm going to drop you off on the corner of Westwood by the Coffee Bean, and I will drop you off at 10 o'clock p.m., and that's where you're going to find a Persian husband. They're all there. It's like when you put out... when you put out bait to catch cockroaches, and you turn on the light, and they're all around the bait? That's what it's like.
I would be the bait? No. So, we had the ice cream. It was good. But as we walk through the ice cream parlor, I'm looking at these other people like, he's much hotter. He's much hotter. Like, it's a bad sign when I'm just like, I'd rather be on a date with him. Like, like the guy behind the ice cream. The guy scooping
That
our
was
ice cream.
someone's son.
Yes, the guy scooping our ice cream. I was like, I would rather have you, bending me over somewhere rather than this guy. So we sit down, and I try to make,
Can't wait to hear the story at your wedding.
I try to make conversation. He's again nervously talking, and I'm just like trying to make conversation, trying to figure out things about him, like, common interests, anything.
Anything but Canadian fucking politics.
I broke one of the cardinal rules, and I asked, were you raised in any certain religion? Are you, any religious proclivities? And he says, no. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, you? And I went, well, I'm Catholic. And he's like, you practice that? I'm like,
I'm actually pretty good at it.
yeah. And he goes, oh, well. And then he starts rattling off these saints and stuff. And I'm just like,
What kind of neckbeard Redditor did you go on a fucking date with?
and then he asked the question, well, how do you reconcile your quote lifestyle choice with your religion? And I'm just like, oh God.
Who the fuck asked that on a first date?
Oh God. And so
How do you reconcile not having a fucking license, you loser?
I give him my spiel, and I looked around. I was like, oh, this is Westwood. I was like, and so I told him, I said, yeah, my friend told me that, back when I was looking for a rich Persian husband, he's like, oh, I mean, I'm not Persian, but I have enough chest hair. And he pulls open his shirt.
Oh!
He pulls open his button-down shirt, and I'm just like, yeah, you got that at JCPenney.
I'd be wishing for a Persian hate crime. Like, could you have just stepped back and then they could have just, done Persian things to him? That would have been a better end of the night.
Yes, no, it would have, because it's about to get worse.
How?
So we finish our ice cream, and we get up, and I really desperately needed water. And, of course, the ice cream parlor does not have water.
It's Persian, I'll charge.
So we walk to the 7-Eleven,
Oh, God.
across the street.
I know which one that is.
And this woman is sitting outside the 7-Eleven asking for change. And she goes, I just had an operation yesterday, and pulls up her shirt, showing her scar. And like, sure enough, it looked like sutures like on her stomach. And I'm like, well, I don't have any cash. And then he's like, yeah, oh wait, yes I do. And so he reaches in and gets like the $2 change that he got from the ice cream parlor. He's like, here you go. And she goes, God bless you, God bless you. And she's like almost chasing after us. And I'm like, we're going. And so I'm chugging this water as I'm running towards my car.
I also forgot, Westwood has I think one of the most unhinged homeless populations. And a lot of it is due to the fact that UCLA Psychiatric Hospital, and just hospital in general, is right there.
Maybe that's where she came from.
And a lot of the homeless people either get on the blue bus and go to Santa Monica, get on the orange bus and go to West Hollywood, or they stay in Westwood. And so you'll be walking through a street that you'll be like, oh, this is where they filmed all the movies, and this is so cute, and there's like a little cafe, and there's, I think, and then someone will just be screaming and like hitting a chain on the ground, like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, and you're like, and that was the one place where I gave the homeless lady some leftovers. She's like, no, I'm good. And I was like, you know what?
Well, so I'm asking questions to this guy, and he's like, so we find out, or I find out that he has a bachelor's degree in French, just like I do.
Christ.
And he said, yeah, I have a job as an accountant by day, and I work at JCPenney by night. And I'm like,
wow.
With a degree in French?
The thrill of it all.
So he went to UCLA and got a degree in French and English.
God.
Oh. And then he says, yeah, I have a degree in French, but... And I said, so do I, and I've been, using it and working on it and teaching it for a while. And he goes, well, I'll have to have like 5 drinks in order to talk in French. And I'm like, okay.
Who's buying 5 drinks? He's not.
So we get in the car, and, he directs me to this other place called Mom's. It's a bar called Mom's. I don't know.
It's an old dive.
Yeah, basically. So I walk in, and the vibe wasn't bad. It was a nice kind of place that I would be like, okay,
there's some fun places like that around there, because it's a college town. It's still a college town at the end of the day. It's a college town in like a real town.
Right. So we get to the bar. We order drinks. He pays for the 2 drinks.
Hey.
And
did he pay for the ice cream too?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and I told him, I said, look, I have to drive. This will be my only drink.
Yeah.
I'm a cheap date. I didn't say that, but
I'm a cheap slut. He's like, what?
This will be my only drink. And he's like, oh, yeah, whatever. So we sit down, and it's kind of loud in the bar. I mean, so it's hard to kind of hear each other. But as soon as we sit down, silence. He doesn't say anything. Like, he's been nervously chatting and talking and asking questions, and I've asked questions, and we've gone back and forth. It's been a little awkward, but what first date's not? It is what it is. Silence.
Ooh.
He just stops talking, and so I keep trying to have conversation, asking questions, and he seems so uninterested. And I'm just like,
oh.
We walked in the door, and you just done. And I'm like, are you like put off by me, or like what's going on?
Here's the part. You're an introvert. If someone's even more quiet than that, what is that?
And I warned him of that too.
A mute?
And so this person was completely 180 degrees difference from the person I talked to via text. And so I keep trying to make conversation. Nothing's happening. I chug the rest of my drink. He's sitting there, kind of silent, looking around. So I clock some other guy's gaze from across the bar, and he smiles at me, and I'm like, can I go on a date with him? He had a cowboy hat on and everything.
If you did that, I would buy your drinks for the next year.
So finally, I finished my drink, and I had been up since 6 a.m. It was now 11. I yawned once. And he looked over at me, like with this, like, how dare you yawn? And I went, oh, sorry, I've been up since 6 a.m. And he goes, oh, I'm going to go. You text me whenever whenever you have time or whenever you move back up here, and walks out the fucking door.
What?
And I'm just sitting there. I didn't even say goodbye. I didn't say okay. I didn't say anything. I'm just sitting there dumbfounded like,
did that just happen?
you just left me? I wanted to leave you. Like, he just walks out. Didn't unmatch me. Like, we're still matched, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. I haven't heard from him. Just walks out of the fucking door.
Can you, like, block him?
And so I'm like, I just had like a date with 3 different people because I talked to you on the phone and you were one person. We met at the ice cream place and you were one person. Now you're a third person. Who the fuck are you?
The worst part is it doesn't seem like any of those people were particularly likable.
No.
Like, the person on the phone, you could, like, stretch to like this person, but everybody else was like, ugh.
So I want to sue people for not being the person that I've talked to.
That's the
originally.
real fraud. The real fraud is people who... Well, I told you the story. It's always the horror story about my dear friend who, she worked at NBC. She's very successful. She was an assistant at the time. And she goes on a date with the guy, shows up. The guy is 100 pounds different from his pictures, also many, many years older. And 5 minutes into the date, he hands her a resume saying, hey, so since you work at NBC, can you give me a job?
Oh, God.
And she didn't leave. She's like, she stayed there for another 15 minutes because she's one of those, like, so polite people, like, she didn't know what to do. So there's people like that, but here's the problem. If you're going to lie in how you present yourself before a first date, how stupid do you think the other person is to where when they meet you in person, they're not going to realize you are physically different, emotionally different, personality-wise different? Like, are people that bad at seeing themselves?
Apparently. One other thing, and I apologize for bringing this up. Do you know who J.J. McCullough is?
J.J. McCullough. Is he an author?
So he's a journalist for, like, the Washington Post?
Oh.
Something like that.
I don't know.
So I looked him up afterward, and yeah, he's a journalist for one of those papers.
Is that who you dated?
He asked me, he said, oh, well, I mean, you're conservative, so you clearly follow J.J. McCullough. And
I have no idea who the fuck that is.
I don't know who that is. He's like, wait, you need to follow. And so after I looked him up, I was like, a journalist for the Washington Post? That's not conservative. Like, no.
I think the only thing that you two had in common is that you both listened to David French unironically. You guys should have talked about advisory opinions, and you could have had a wonderful time.
No. I guarantee you he had no idea who that was. He didn't know what The Women was. He told me that he loved classic cinema and all this stuff.
He doesn't know The Women.
No. And
But apparently he knows about Canadian... Is he Canadian? Because that would explain him being, like, dysgenic mentally.
Born and raised in Los Angeles and just autistic and, like, 5 different people at the same time. So,
There was a small contingency of those people at UCLA, and like the people who wandered out of the psych ward should be contained and brought back in, and they should just stay within the bounds of the university. Like, they shouldn't be allowed to leave.
If you are one of those people who is on a dating profile and you act differently on those messages than you do in real life, go fuck yourselves.
Oh, there it is.